the most amazing thing happened in not the good way, and I guess not necessarily even the bad way when you think about the outcome, but the outrageous way. I had a glass of delicious scotch that I poured myself as I was packing, getting ready for our flight. I'm recording back to back to back before our voyage across the world to Florida. And I was packing my podcast stuff and I dropped my lapel mic into my scotch. And I just was staring at it like, what do I do? And it soaked in there for quite a bit. And I let it dry all night and I tested it this morning and hey, you can hear me, so it's working. And so praise God that I don't have to buy another lapel mic, but the cover of it smells like scotch. So that's an interesting smell for the morning. Welcome to How to Build a Tent, the podcast on how to make you successful. We are part of the Fight Laugh Feast network. Go over to fightlaughfeast.com. Become a member, put in HtBT in the memo field, and you'll get tons of great benefits. You'll get tons of great content like the 10-part series on executing in your sales. It's such a great series to look into. Oh man, we got some good stuff lined up today. I want to talk about U.S. manufacturing, Seattle's minimum wage. Both of those things are kind of negative, which I am happy to say that the stock market, as I'm recording this, is doing really well. And which is a big relief since I've had to be shorting the market the last week to kind of stay hedged. But so yeah, for the whole week I'm up. For the month I'm still a little bit down, but it looks like at least today has kind of been a good. Wow, I have a Z-scaler call, a $74 call, and it's up 430% today. And that is definitely something I needed because it expires by the end of Friday, and I just don't even know if I'm going to still make any money off that call. That would be interesting. But so good news, a little relief in the market. Thankful for that. Thankful for you guys. Thank you for sharing the show. You can reach out to me, Matt, at howtobuildatent.com. You can find me on the social media sites, How to Build a Tent. I've been getting so much good feedback and emails about the Christian incubator idea that I'm still working on, and I will be continuing to tease to get you excited about as I have more and more details. I haven't finalized anything yet, but that is something I'm working on. It's going to be a really big project because I want to structure it in a way where we're blessing everybody involved. And that takes a lot of work. So that's what I'm going to be working on over the next couple weeks. Really, it might go longer than that, but I will keep you apprised of the details so you guys can get involved in that as well. And it's just so great to hear your emails about how you guys are excited about that and looking for ways to help other Christians out. Man, we just need more and more of that. How great would this world be if just Christians ourselves would lift each other up, support each other, help each other? That's a really good vision to work towards. All right, so U.S. manufacturing actually started to slow down, and it slowed to a 2.5-year low. It declined 0.7 on the index. The forecast was for it to be at a 53, but it came in at 52.1. But it was at 52.8 before, so it declined 0.7. It was forecasted to increase by 0.3. Now the index is structured in a way where if it is above 50, you're growing still. So it's at 52.1. It's above the level of break even where you're not declining, you're not even, but we're growing. So we're still growing, which seems to be kind of in line with what we've been hearing from economists, from the news, that it's not, man, that scotch smell is really strong on my lapel mic right now. I take a deep breath in and I just get a great taste of or smell of scotch. That's interesting. But that's kind of in line with what we've been hearing with economists, with the news, some people being more negative about it than others, but that we're going to see a slowdown, but not necessarily a recession anytime soon. And even with the trade war that's going on and Trump threatening tariffs with Mexico, which is a very interesting play for a lot of different reasons, because when you factor in the cost of immigration, illegal immigration, the drug trafficking, the border patrol, and how much work they have to do in processing, how much it costs us, and if Trump can get Mexico to stop people at the southern border of Mexico so that it's not a big of a deal with our southern border, and we can get our immigration system like figured out where we can process people can come to work, but we know where they are. They're not going to be taking our tax dollars. They're not going to be having their kids come in public schools. Our legal immigration system is going to be looking for merit-based versus family-based, which is something that I think we should be doing. We should be looking to bring in people that are going to benefit our society. Obviously, there's other ways that we can help people that are poor. We can send aid, we can help people where they're at, but we don't need to be bringing them in and causing us to go further in debt because we have no money. So that tariff is a very interesting play to me. Again, tariffs by themselves are terrible and from an economic standpoint. They hurt us, they tax us, they make things more expensive, as you might have seen already if you've tried to buy any electronic devices from anyone who makes anything in China, which is pretty much everyone at the moment. But as we've talked about before, so we're starting to see companies move, not even necessarily come back to the United States, but go to Vietnam and go to other places. But like with Mexico, the big deal is auto imports, because Mexico has a ton of deals with other countries where they don't get taxed to bring in parts to Mexico. And so what happens is usually there's a lot of imports of the different parts that need to be made for the car that go to Mexico, and then through NAFTA, through the free trade agreement, come up or are manufactured in Mexico, or they're assembled in the United States. And so if there's another tax on that, that's going to be another interesting dynamic with the auto industry, and then also the immigration factor. So that would be an interesting one, but I have a feeling that Mexico isn't going to play such a hard ball as China. Mexico does not want to be the superpower of the world like China does. Mexico is just a corrupt nation that wants, the leaders just want to be rich, and maybe that's a poor characterization of everybody, and it's something I shouldn't say, so I apologize if that is too much of a generalization, but from what I understand, it's just a pretty corrupt place. Even people who have done business, you basically have to pay people off to do business in Mexico. And I haven't heard of any changes to that. But anyway, so it looks like the U.S. economy, the growth has slowed a little bit. That seems to be in line with what we've expected. I am not really worried about it. Again, we're still growing. We're just not growing at as fast a rate. And like we've said before on another show, we are like on one of the longest streaks we've ever had in the United States for expansion. So U.S. manufacturing continuing to grow up is a good sign. Now, another a big I told you so for all of us who know economics, for all of us who are conservatives, that we're saying that the minimum wage is a terrible thing. You're going to lose jobs. And sure enough, Seattle, hard-headed liberals think they know better than common sense people, thought that raising the minimum wage was going to be a good thing. And I don't know if I've ever said this before, but my theory about why they want to raise the minimum wage, because let's be honest, the people that are in charge, the party, they're not stupid. They're really smart people. They're evil a lot of times, especially in the Democrat Party and being a pro-abortion and things like that. But they know economics. They know that raising the minimum wage is going to do exactly what we are seeing in Seattle happen. People are losing their jobs. People are losing wealth because prices are artificially being raised. And any time a price is being artificially raised, which wages are the price of labor, anytime that happens, it's a disaster. But so my theory is that union contracts have triggers in them that are based off of minimum wage in a lot of contracts. So when minimum wage goes up, it triggers those contracts to be renegotiated, where unions can renegotiate, get more money. A percentage of those union fees go to the Democrat Party. So as those wages go up for the union workers, those fees go up. As those fees go up, more money goes to the Democrats. So basically, they're trying to give themselves more money for funding, more money for political purposes, for power. So that's my theory. Anyway, so back to Seattle. It is being impacted in severe ways. And I think this is a good point too, before I really get into the numbers of what's happening in Seattle, to remind us that the economy, good or bad, isn't completely the president's fault. Now, he pushes an agenda, a tax agenda, he pushes regulation agenda. Obama had a lot more regulations, like a lot more regulations. He wanted to raise taxes as much as he could. Trump, on the other hand, had pushed for a cut tax break. He might be pushing for another one. And he has been cutting regulations like nobody's business, which has been helping everybody's business. I like that. Cutting people's taxes like nobody's business, but it's been helping everybody's business. And so there are definitely things that the president does that can help and hurt the economy, but there are also other powers that can hurt and impact economies or help economies despite what the president is doing. So this is just a good case to remember that it's not all on the president either way, one way or the other, either good or bad. But there's a lot of different forces, a lot of different drivers that will impact the U.S. economy. Because believe it or not, the U.S. economy is a pretty big one. In fact, it's the biggest in the world still. So Seattle, they've increased right now to $13 an hour. I believe they're going to $15 an hour. But what this study found, and this study was sponsored by or part of it was funded by the Seattle city government. So the government themselves was wanting to do a study to see how this has impacted people in their city. And what they found, it reduced the income overall of minimum wage workers. And you're like, what are you talking about? You raised their wages. How did their overall wages go down? Well, they being businesses, can only pay labor a certain amount of money. You cannot pay people more than they are worth. Otherwise, you are losing value. And what happens when you, as a business, identify a place you're losing value? You sell it off. You force them to retire. You move them to another position where they can bring in more value, or you could you lay people off. That's the word I was looking for. And that's exactly what's happening here. So they've reduced hours worked, or reduced jobs altogether, or not hired anybody going forward further. So people that are working minimum wage jobs, maybe they have one or two different jobs. That happens too, especially in the restaurant industry. But all of those hours have been reduced. So they've been making more per hour, but they've been working less hours, and so they have lost income overall substantially. They estimated that 3.5 million hours were lost during this time of the increase in minimum wage. 3.5 million hours that people could have worked were gone. Jobs were lost. We often measure jobs by job positions, like how many jobs are open. But we can look at it like this too, is jobs in forms of how many hours are businesses offering for our employees or for our citizens. And that just went down 3.5 million hours for $13 an hour. And you hear the $15 an hour push. And this isn't like specific to Seattle, but this will happen in any area that tries to implement this $15 an hour minimum wage that the left is pushing. Again, another thing that the left is pushing that is sinister, that is evil, that is wrong. And I say sinister, evil, and wrong because they know it doesn't work. There are people that believe it's good, they have good intentions, that vote for these plans, but they're ignorant. I don't necessarily say they're evil for that they're definitely misinformed, but the people that are pushing this are definitely evil because it hurts people, it hurts the poor. And don't tell me that when you lose 3.5 million hours work, that your low-wage workers estimated losing $120 million last year. You lost $120 million in Seattle if you're a low-income worker. Don't tell me that the Democrats are the party of the poor. Don't tell me that your liberal city of Seattle cares about the downtrodden, the people that don't have an education. Don't tell me that. This is the proof they don't care. That they have an agenda, that they're just trying to take power, they're trying to grow government, they're trying to take away freedoms by forcing businesses for forcing people with their private property to do things, to spend a certain amount of money that they don't want to spend because it doesn't make sense, and it's impacting everybody. It impacts the businesses because they're bottom line, but more than that, it's taking away job hours. It's taking away hard-earned dollars from these low-income people. And this is just the first effects. There's going to be second and third effects as well. We always have to remember that in everything in life, not just in politics, not just in economics, but in business too. You are going to make an action, and every action has a reaction, but it has more than just one reaction as well. That there's going to be multiple ripples that come from this. It's like the butterfly effect. When you don't have as many hours, when you don't have as much opportunity to fill low-wage workers, well then what happens when the new generation of people that are supposed to enter the workforce to start developing skills in these low-wage jobs can't find jobs? Well then what's going to happen? Well, they're going to, a lot of the times in the inner city, well, they turn to the streets. They get into gangs, they sell drugs. They have to make money and they have to make a living somehow. So what do? They do what they know, they do what their culture tells them to do, and then they have larger crime, or they become homeless, and the homeless population increases. It's very funny how all the liberal states are where the homeless populations are the worst. The cities that are run by liberals are the worst. It's because of these kinds of policies. Now, I understand some of it's mental illness, but again, those are still liberal policies that are causing that to happen as well. So don't tell me the Democrats are for the poor. They just say it, but their policies hurt the poor far worse than anything the Republicans can do. The Republicans hurt the poor in the way where they stop giving them a government check. But at the same time, they're hurting them by not giving them that check. They're also giving them dignity back where they are forcing them to work. So, I mean, yeah, they're hurting their pocketbook, but their dignity is being elevated because we expect more from the people. We don't think that they're less than us. We don't think that they can't help themselves, but we believe in you. We believe in those people with low wage jobs. We believe in those people that are on the government dole. We believe that you have what it takes to make something better for yourself, where you don't need us to take care of you, but God has given you special gifts. God has given you a special calling that you can fulfill it, and you don't need us to do it for you. We don't need to take care of you, but you can be provided for by the means that God has blessed you with. And that is a big difference that I wish conservative politicians would highlight more, is that we are not trying to pull away your government benefits because we're mean, but it's because we believe in the dignity of you. We believe in the value that you have in society, and we're not going to treat you like you're disabled. We're not going to treat you like you're incapable. Those are the left pretentious people that think they're better than everyone, that thinks they can run a city like Seattle and tell businesses how much their labor is worth. And we see the devastating effects of that. All right, so now we have a few things to think about with investing, who we're supporting with our finances, what to expect when a city we live in raises the minimum wage, and some things to think about if maybe we live in a city like Seattle and that maybe it's time to move, because not only is this situation going to be worse, not only is it going to be a more hostile business environment, but there's going to be second and third order effects, increased homelessness, increased crime. And those are all things that are going to really impact the city, impact the wealth of the area around you, the community. It might be ways or things to think about for you to move somewhere else. Seattle, maybe you move to Moscow, Idaho, and join the Fight, Laugh, Feast guys over there in Moscow. Okay. Well, with that, we will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day, and let's go out and be successful together.